welcome to the very first episode of the Usagi Yojimbo podcast. This is Usagi Podjimbo, an Usagi Yojimbo podcast. Uh, my name's Mike. Just a little history. Wanted to give you before we started this first episode. I am new to the Usagi Yojimbo fandom, and I was like, "Hey, I want a podcast about this." I just started reading Usagi Yojimbo. I knew a little bit about it beforehand because he is in the Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. He has shown up in crossovers with the Ninja Turtles. And I was like, hey, why don't I do a podcast about this? Let's talk about it, because I've really enjoyed what I've read so far. And I am currently reading from the IDW published Usagi Yojimbo Origins, Volume 1, written by Stan Sakai. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this started back in 1986 or like 85. I can't remember exactly when it actually started, but I want to get into this and talk about it. Usagi Yojimbo, also known as Miyamoto Usagi. Usagi Yojimbo is a Ronin, a samurai. He's a rabbit who's a samurai in this anthropomorphic world of samurai. And yeah, we are looking at Usagi Yojimbo Samurai Part 1 or Issue 1. I take it, and I think it's Issue 1. I'm not 100% sure because I know there's a few different little one shots before the original Usagi Yojimbo story started. So we will get into that probably later. And I have to actually figure out what the reading order is for Usagi Yojimbo, because it does get a little complicated when it moves around from place to place, publisher to publisher. But I think I figured most of it out. But I want to say thank you for listening to this first episode, and let's get into this first podcast. So we start off with the brief introduction into the 16th century of Japan. A war has been raging, and Usagi has lost his lord. He is no samurai. Well, he is a samurai, but yeah, he's a samurai without a master, and his clan fell, and a lot like a lot of the other samurai. Uh, they went off. They started doing becoming bandits, merchants, anything like that, hired bodyguards, stuff like that. Usagi has been on several different journeys before this has started, and he's met several friends. But this is a continuation of his journey, and we start out with Samurai Part 1. We see Usagi Yojimbo. He is in a field, and he challenges a warthog samurai. And we don't know why he's challenging the warthog samurai, but we get this classic samurai duel scene where they both charge at each other, and one of them falls over and gets cut. Usagi wins, obviously hands down, and Usagi gets surprised by Gin. Gin is a bounty hunter. He's a rhinoceros. He is one of Usagi Yojimbo's friends, and Gin says, "Hey, that was a really good duel. I really enjoyed watching it." And Usagi gets surprised. He's like, What are you doing here, Gin? Uh, I don't. Why are you here? But you can definitely tell that there's history between Gin and Usagi. And Usagi says, "You just show up whenever you're not wanted, don't you, Gin?" And Gin's like, "Yeah, flattery will get you nowhere, Usagi." He's like, "Why did you kill this man? What did he offend you? Are you going after a bounty? Did he some kind of debt on or something like that?" And he's like, "No, honor. This man betrayed my lord back when I was a young child in the village." And we see Usagi back when he was younger, as a child, learning from his father to be a samurai. And his father talks to him and his friend Kenichi about how the symbol of the sword and the wakizashi, and how they're the soul of the samurai, and how they're going to go train with the Dogram fencing school because they have earned the right to become samurai. And as Usagi and Kenichi go off, Usagi tells Gin that Kenichi and him were never really friends that much, but they went on the road together to go to the Dogram school, and Usagi and Kenichi have this kind of little banter back and forth, and he's like, I bet I can make a better samurai than you, Usagi. Kenichi says, and he's like, bet you don't, you creep, and they start like bickering back and forth and whatnot. And Kenichi attacks Usagi with the stick, and they happen to get to a little tough of some sorts, and they happen to see this old lion, and this old lion, he looks like an old like lion samurai with a stick, a big old stick, and a sword, big massive lion's mane, and he has offended or might have offended the Dogram students who go to the fencing school, and they're like all mad at him and whatnot. They call him Katsuchi is his name, and they're like, Katsuchi, you have offended us. You've offended us in our school. Prepare to pay with blood. And they're like, you don't want none of this, old man. You don't want none of this. And he tells the children to go home, which that makes them even more mad because there's like five of them and one of him, and you definitely get a sense of he knows something, and he probably can kick their asses, and they are definitely underestimating Katsuchi, and they're like, "No, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna take your bullshit." And these students, they're like, you had a fencing school of your own, but you ended up disbanding it, so you're basically useless and nothing else like that. You're useless and you're a nobody. And Katsuchi, he happens to say, I chose to leave this school, or I chose to leave, teaching in the school, so I wouldn't have to teach idiots like you, which sets off the hooligans or whatever, the ruffians, the students off even more. And one of them's like, what? I'm mad, I'm gonna kill you. And Katsuchi just like, that's the trouble with you. You think with your sword and not with your spirit. We get this cool scene where they're all charging him, charging Katsuchi, and Katsuchi he basically takes them all out, and I think he kills them. I'm not 100% for sure on this because I mean he does take out his sword and he basically beats them all up, and then he like cleans off his blade. So I'm guessing he killed the students. I'm not 100% for sure on this one. I'm gonna be honest with you, like that. I don't know, you know. But Usagi and his little friend Kenichi happen to see this, and they are gobsmacked, and they don't know what to think. Katsuchi happens to see them, and they're like, he's like, yeah, what do you think you're doing here? And they're like, what, we just want to learn how to do swords. And Katsuchi ends up leaving, and Usagi's like, that guy right there is gonna be my teacher. I'll tell you what now. And Kenichi's like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah. He kind of laughs at him, and they get into a little bit of bickering. He's like, oh yeah, well, he's just defeated all those Dogram students. Usagi says, and uh, he's like, I'm gonna go off, and I don't care. I don't care about the Dogram. I don't care about the Dogram fencing school. This guy right here is gonna be my teacher. And he's like, Sensei. You see Usagi running off to this cat guy, and uh, Katsuchi is like, what do you want, boy? Uh, and Usagi says, I want you to be my teacher. You be my teacher. And uh, Katsuchi is like, I'm not having it. I'm not, nope, go home. Go home. I don't want to deal with you." But Usagi doesn't give up. Usagi is basically like, "Hey, like, look, I want you to be my teacher." Uh, and he follows him to his home, and we see that Usagi is very, very determined to learn swordsmanship from this particular master. And we see this little smirk on Katsuchi's face, and it's like dark and raining, and uh, you can see like Usagi has been standing outside of of Katsuchi's house like all night, and Katsuchi's like, "Are you still here? Like, what's going on? Like, why are you still here? You know, you should have left." And Usagi's like, "No, no, I don't want to leave." And he's like, "Ha! What? How did you get behind me?" Because he like moved so fast. Katsuchi had just what got up behind him, you know, and this is where I guess Usagi showed that he was very determined to learn the proper swordsmanship techniques and learn how to be a true swordsman, a true samurai. That Katsuchi decides to take Usagi on as his student, and his first task is to go basically to get some firewood, and that's where our first. So that's where part one ends for Samurai Part One. Fun fact: I thought Samurai Part One was just issue one, but no, it's actually Samurai Part One and Part Two, which completes issue one of the first Usagi Yojimbo issue. So yeah, little fun fact I learned there. So we go from Katsuchi. Katsuchi is Usagi's new teacher. So Usagi learned these learned the sword and learn how to use the sword and stuff like that. He has found his teacher to learn how to become a samurai. It's been 6 months since Usagi has joined up with Katsuchi, and Katsuchi is he's training him pretty hard. I will tell you that much. Uh, so Usagi does a lot of things. Like he tends the house, you know, he gets firewood, tends to the garden, stuff like that. It's been 6 months since he's been here, like we've said. He has yet to pick up a practice sword and hear his teacher teach him anything about swordsmanship whatsoever. So I guess Usagi is starting on the right foot. You know, it's sort of the wax on, wax off type of thing, to where Usagi learns, I guess, the basics of the basics, and is not is I guess maybe he's learning more about what do you call it, like the fundamentals of maybe being patient. I'm not 100% sure on that one. So Usagi is very much become discouraged in these past 6 months as he's collecting firewood one day, you know, just humming along, singing a song. He gets whacked by Katsuchi's uh his bamboo stick. He's like, "Oh, Sensei." And Katsuchi's like, go fetch me some more water, Potato Bug." I kind of like it that he gives him a little nickname and calls him Potato Bug. It's kind of cute and adorable. Not gonna lie, but Usagi goes off to go to go fetch some more water, and he starts to question himself and to think about maybe Kenichi was right. Maybe Sensei is a little crazy, and maybe I should have just left, you know, and not joined up with him. But night falls, and Usagi is asleep, and you hear a conk, and Usagi is woken up by Sensei, and we see Usagi. He's going to go tend to the garden and get some radishes. It looks like, and Usagi gets scared and hides in some bushes because he sees his sensei. He thinks that something's wrong, and maybe Sensei's mad at him or something. And he, uh, Katsuchi's like, "You fool! Uh, you are such a fool!" And Usagi's like, "Yeah, he's right. I am a fool. I hid there in the bushes like a frightened cur why he didn't even have to use his bamboo stick on me. A true samurai knows. A true samurai should know when he is in danger, when he is not in danger. And we get this cool scene later on where they're in the mountains in the snow. Sensei and Usagi are. And we see this little dinosaur off in the distance. We've seen a little dinosaur before at the very beginning. He's like a little not a brontos. He looks like a little like brontosaurus, maybe. He's green off in the distance, which we've seen him a little before in the first part of this issue. And we find out that months have passed since Usagi has joined. More months have passed, I guess you could say. And Sensei tells Usagi, the martial arts are everything. A samurai's body is a manifestation of his spirit. To have a strong body, you must have a strong spirit. You must know the martial arts, music, every kind of stuff. Everything goes into the Bushido code as it is. And as he's talking to him, uh, he's like, you need to learn about everything. Reach out with your spirit. Feel the hidden dangers that are lurking. And he kind of hits with his stick on a tree and makes all this snow fall onto Usagi, which is pretty funny. I like this scene a lot. Not gonna lie. And then 4 months later have passed. Usagi's still getting water, and he's like, "Ha, Sensei, I know you're there. I know you're hiding. Sensei, come on, And he throws a rock at the tree, and 15 minutes go by later on, and he's still waiting for Sensei to pop out behind a tree, and Sensei is not having it, And he's like, oh, maybe he's not behind the tree. Usagi starts to definitely second guess himself in this part, and he's like, oh, maybe he's just still waiting for his tea, and uh, Sensei pops out. He's like, you fool, you idiot, you're stupid. You knew I was there waiting to attack, and you just decided to walk off. And we go from that for 6 months later. So 6 months, 6 more months have passed, and Usagi is chopping wood, and the sensei shows up and starts attacking him with his practice sword. Usagi does some pretty cool flips, and he happens to actually block with his axe Sensei's blade, and he's like, "Excellent, excellent. You have learned well. Here, take this bonkin, I believe it's called, which is a wooden practice sword. Training begins uh, earnest, which I guess is the next day. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we see Sensei. He's standing here, and he's like, as a samurai, you must strive for perfection, body and spirit. Duty and honor are the essence of Bushido, the way of the warrior, and it should be preserved even at all cost with your life. And we see this cool action scene where Sensei and Usagi are facing off, and Usagi is very much holding his own, and he has been with Sensei for 2 years, 2 years of training, and he just happens to land his first strike on his Sensei. And he's like, "Oh, forgive me, Sensei," and he's like, "Oh no, you don't have to forgive me, I have been waiting uh for you, the buzzing bee, to finally use its sting and to sting me with your sword." And you get this cool scene where Usagi gets all happy, and you see that Katsushi is also happy for him as well. And then we switch back to present day to where uh Gin is going on talking about with Usagi, and he's like, "Are you going to tell me what's going on with this with this brigade? Why this guy betrayed you and stuff like that? Betrayed your lord. You can't just stop here. You can't just stop the story here." And he's like, "Oh, I will tell you." And he's like, kind of playing with this little dinosaur right here, which we've seen these little guys before. And he's like, "But I'm just a little thirsty." And Gin kind of cracks a joke at Usagi. He's like, "Hey, maybe we should go fetch us some wood and fetch us some water, because you're pretty good at that, and so we can finish with our story, and that's where our first issue ends. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I did feel like I was possibly missing some things with the previous one shots from the anthology previously before this series, but I didn't feel too lost. I like this world that they're in and that Stan Sakai is building up with Usagi. We're seeing uh, interspersed with present day Usagi Yojimbo's origins, which is really cool. I like the action. I like the color in this. The color really makes the picture pop because originally this was in black and white, and I think the color does add a lot to it that I really liked. I liked seeing young Usagi. Young Usagi's pretty fun. He's a fun little kid, and getting more into what happened with his sensei and stuff like that. Why was he betrayed? Why was his lord betrayed? What exactly happened and why Usagi is went after this guy? We'll find out later on, I'm guessing. Um, but I am looking forward to seeing what happens. I think this is a very good start to a very fun story, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing this. Hope you guys enjoyed this first uh, episode. I know it's a little wonky because I started recording and I was like, oh, this is simple. Part one. And then we got part two. No, part one and two go together. So next time we'll go with part three and part four for issue two. Thank you for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Don't forget to check out my other podcast called Otakuology, where I talk about anime and manga as well. I also have a Black Hammer Club, a podcast called Black Hammer Club, where I talk about all about the Black Hammer comic books. I look forward to checking this out, and we'll go from there. If you want to email me questions or whatever, usagipod@gmail.com, all one word, going from there. But this is fun. I like it, and uh, I can't wait. I'm just flipping through what we got now, in the next couple issues. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to know what happened beforehand as well, like in those other issues. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see, if I can get a hold of those. Because I know that was more of like an anthology piece for those, but we'll see how it goes. But thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed and catch you on the next episode.